Hey, JulesBlessedVegan, and as always, welcome to my channel. And for those of you who are new, I know you can benefit. So I'm going to talk about things we cannot control, and then the things we can. So what is worth focusing on, right? And actually, as a teacher, this was really appropriate because, and I think it's really true for anybody who's super engaged in life, right? This is from TheCounselingTeacher.com. And of course, I'm using it as the icon in the video, so you'll be able to reference it. But a couple of things have been happening that I can't control, right? I mean, obviously, as a teacher, I couldn't control the COVID. I couldn't control, when we'd be on campus, when we wouldn't. Even when we technically returned to campus, I couldn't control which students were willing to come back to in person, which ones weren't, just a ton of things like that. In my daily life, I indicated yesterday that a rock had hit my windshield, right, on what essentially is a new car. And I'm going to have to get that windshield repaired, or if not replaced. And then, sadly, in prayers for my horse, Sue, and Sue is one of the ones who has trampled me, but I still have the grace to love her and see her as a kid and pray for her. And what happened was Beauty, who only spoke Spanish when we got her, but let's be fair, she knows English and she's a brat. And she's the shortest, most petite and stout of all the horses we have. But she is the bossiest, and if there's an alpha horse, it's Beauty. So anyway, just to be a brat as we were putting everyone away, Beauty went into Sue's stall. And of course, Sue went into her stall. And the stalls, we finally put an overhang because of the heat and the weather in the high desert. And, maybe it was hard for her to see. I don't know. But Beauty turned her little body around and started bucking the heck out of Sue. Not even kidding you. Dale actually went in. Hi, are you kidding me? It's like a 12 by 24 stall. There's two horses and one's bucking the other one, and you're physically in there. I don't need a third emergency. Oh my gosh. But anyway, he ended up getting them to stop and Beauty to get out, but damage done in some ways. Sue had a big knot on her side, and then her whole right leg had like 4 punctures from how hard Beauty was kicking. And I'm so sorry. Their stalls are next to each other. They have their own stalls, of course. And it's one of those things where if one of them even gets taken out of the stall for like getting their hoofs done or something, the other one freaks, right, and throws a fit because they're inseparable. But like any sisters who pull hair occasionally, that's kind of what went down. And we can ill afford it, and I don't need it to amount to any more than it is. So we gave her pain medication, and we're watching her, but I'm just praying. Luckily, it didn't appear like, other than the knot on her stomach, let's be fair, that any organs were potentially hurt, but that back leg looks like a lot of pain. But she certainly won't let us put ointment or anything on it tonight. Anyway, prayers all around. We love all these little people. They have their own personalities, and it can get ugly. Okay, so this is called personal boundaries, and the outer rim is what I cannot control. So I can let go of these things knowing that. Now, this is an ongoing lesson, and depending on where I am in my life, in my day, in the setting that I'm in, some are easier than others. So something you can never control is being judged by others, how others react when told no. That is straight up. The beliefs and attitudes of others, and we're seeing that more than ever with social media, right? And the ongoing opinions and just the insanity of many things that I can't agree with. As a Christian and a God-fearing person, I'm called to love people. I don't necessarily love what they're doing or what they're saying. Another thing is peer pressure, and even as adults, there is that, right? I'll get things on just the internet in particular, but definitely in the school setting. This one person wanted to purchase something and have everybody partake in it, but to partake, you had to buy one. But the way it was set up, it was like if you didn't buy one, what? You weren't on board. It got very awkward fast, and that was just kind of a form of peer pressure. And certainly online, people will just send me things. And when I don't respond, they'll send them again. And I'm like, I didn't respond because that's not my gig. That's not my truth. So it's really interesting. We cannot control peer pressure. How often others will ask favors of you. Wow. So true, because some people know how to get their needs met that way. Squeaky wheel gets the grease, right? And also they know that I'm one of those people who may very well, is it called kowtow? Give in. I'll just say that. We can't control when others are not prepared. Oh my gosh, so true, right? When you're coming to that meeting, when you have an agreement of what you're going to do, when you're going to work together on blank, and they're not prepared. Plan B. Or how others set their boundaries. So sometimes someone will just have amazing boundaries. I'm able to laugh at it now and just go, yeah, you know? But some people don't have that. And without those boundaries, they are right there in your face, right? And at the very least, it's like, thank you, COVID, for having people step back. It's nice to have a little bit of space around us. All right, so those are the things we cannot control. Very quickly, being judged by others, how others react when told no, the beliefs and attitudes of others, peer pressure, how often others will ask favors of me, how others set their boundaries, and when others are not prepared. Okay, so what's the good news, Jules? Like, come on, besides this fly and not wanting to play. So these are the things you can control, and so they are worth focusing on. One, how often you volunteer. How often are you saying yes to giving your time? And again, this doesn't have to be in the workplace. It could be at home too, right? When the family's really busy, when everybody's doing various things, and inevitably you say, don't worry, I'll make dinner. Don't worry, I'll pick the kid up. Like, how often do you volunteer? Your own personal limits. Are you willing to say no? Do you know how to respond when someone says no to you? What are your limits? So important. Setting your personal space. Again, praise God for a very brief respite of having a teeny bit of space and a perimeter from people. I don't really mind that. I mean, even in the grocery store, I would love it if we were 6 feet apart for the rest of our lives. Because when little kids are like hanging over me and someone's bumping my cart and this person is right there, it's been lovely to have a teeny bit of space. So what is your personal space, right? And this is just a great reminder, no matter what, we always have a chance to have a fresh start. And it takes time for people to adjust to our new, parameters, but we can do it. You can train people on how to treat you appropriately. Saying no to things that are not good for me. Hi. Some weeks are better than others. This week is a really good one. But some people aren't good for me. We're not just talking food here, right? Some different things, whether it's a TV show, whether it's certain news programs that bring me down. Whatever the circumstances, I went and got dinner for my husband, and I'd already eaten my dinner, and part of it was to just appease him, because he kept saying, hey, I got some tips. What do you want to, he didn't say binge on, but that's what comes to mind for me. What treats do you want to get? It was one of those, and well, you could go there and get that for me, but if you're not going to get any, don't get me any, but then go here. And I was like, well, I'm not going to get anything, but I'm happy to go get you what you want. Luckily, it was a total dead food fest, and I did not want any. And like I said, I'd already eaten. The kitchen was closed, T-bar was open, and I was very blessed to make it another clean day of eating. But it got really ugly, just tricky to navigate. So speaking up when boundaries are crossed, wow, to have what can be courage sometimes, and being able to actually speak up when boundaries are crossed, so great. When that teacher died, committed suicide, I can't believe it wasn't even 2 weeks ago, I spoke up to the district and let them know why I just felt how that was handled. And other deaths in the district have been handled by not handling, by not addressing, by not giving the moment of silence, etc., that I didn't think that was right. And I spoke up for that. And I got a little bit of pushback. Mostly kind of the same behavior of, we appreciate your thoughts. We're not going to do anything about it, but thank you for your thoughts. You know what I mean? But what are your boundaries crossed? I love it when I do take the risk and it works out. Like the person actually responds appropriately. I kind of did that this week, right? There was a situation at school. I was offended by certain behaviors. I spoke up and that person responded appropriately. And I'm so lucky because I could have just been frustrated or pouted, but instead I communicated and the universe was in my favor and it worked out. Praise God. Okay, how often I let others borrow my things. So true. Again, I'll just refer to teachers a second, but I think of how often there's certain teachers who know exactly how to handle that. I mean, either they say no or they literally have someone like write down that they're bringing it back on this certain day, and they actually get proof. I've had so many things walk away from my classroom that I never saw again, and that's my own irresponsibility. I wasn't able to say no to the person, which is a lack of a boundary, and I didn't have the ability to follow through and retrieve it either. So I have a certain person who pushes me in my life where they'll talk about how other people take up their time, how other people, call them on the phone and don't have any clue about when to hang up, how other people show up unannounced. And as they're saying all this, I'm thinking, you mean like you are doing to me at this very moment? And I can't get angry at them because I'm not setting the boundary. And I'm not teaching them how to treat me because 4 times into the conversation, 4 times in, where I've said, I really have to go. Can we please end this conversation? I have other things to do. Well, why would they believe me? I didn't hang up after number 1. I didn't hang up after 2 or 3, and we're on 4. So the only person I can resent at that point is me. Let's be fair. So yeah, how often do you let people borrow things, including your time? Okay, setting rules for how others treat me. Absolutely. So brilliant. And it's not necessarily something you're going to literally write down and say, hi, yes, you can be in my life, but here are the rules. But it's something that you understand about yourself. And you've got to teach those people that that's true for you. But again, my husband knew that he could probably say, hey, Jules, what binge food do you want? It's the weekend. We're weekend warriors. I'm ready to binge. Here's the money. Where are we going to go? Because in the past, I have certainly stood up for that. Like a lot of people, it's very easy for me to be on plan all week long because my week is planned, right? I know exactly when my meals are. I know what's going on each day of the week. I know what's going on. Suddenly, there is less boundaries, less of a plan on the weekends, less parameters to keep me, reeled in. And so I really have to step up and double up my boundaries on the weekends. And I'm really proud of myself that I did, but he is all too aware of the many weekends that I haven't, right? Okay, and then finally, I can control how I will respect the boundaries of others. I really admire when people call a boundary. Even if it's not what I want, even if in the moment I'm offended, even if I'm like, I can't believe it, don't put a boundary on me because I really need blank, blank, blank. Mostly I have the grace to go, yay, you. I don't like it, but yay, you. And go with that boundary, So I'm pretty good about that. So these are the things we can control. How often you volunteer, limits, setting personal space, saying no to things that are not good, speaking up when boundaries are crossed, how often you let other people borrow things, setting rules for how others treat us, and respecting the boundary of others. Brilliant. Anyway, just something to think about. it's something I'm thinking about right now. Partly because, like I said, I've been up against a couple of challenges in the last 2 weeks where I didn't feel that I can control things and really had to be reminded of what was in my control. And there's a lot of empowerment in that. When you know what part is yours. I love being accountable. I really do. But I also like to feel empowered. For me, there's nothing worse than feeling helpless. Seriously. All right, that's it, my friends. But if you're noticing that my eyebrows seem a little darker, I don't know if you did notice or not. Like, what is different about Jules? Check it. All right. And this was me trying to do something I could control. Okay, it's so weird. As I've gotten older, and these are like half the brows that God provided for me, because they grow so much, and I'm right there with Groucho Marx. But anyway, these are starting to grow out, and so I wanted to go and get them cleaned up. But for some reason, as I've gotten older, this part of the brow goes super light. Is that your story? It's so weird. Like, to where, and I know we weren't going to do a talk on brows, but for those who are still with me, and so few stay till the end, I'm going with the brow story. Okay, so like this part disappears basically. And even one of my students said, Miss McCants, how come you don't have eyebrows on this side? It's so Spockish, right? Live long and prosper. Anyway, I was like, yeah, it's really weird. These ones get super light on the side. And so I took some dye and I just dyed them so that when I get them done, the girl can actually see where the real brow is. But even though it said blonde, ha ha, they turned out darker than my real hair, which is hilarious. Hilarious. All right, that's the story. If you were wondering, is there something different? Yes, I dyed my brows. All right, people. Like if you like, join us if you haven't. Subscribe. Let me know in the comments below how I may support you. And until we talk again, have a boundary. Know that it's okay. Respect others' boundaries as a bonus. And know that you're blessed.